I have been working with PrintBoss longer than I should probably admit. My goal for today is, if you've never heard of PrintBoss, I'm hoping to give you an overview or an idea of what the software can do. If you're already using PrintBoss, my hope is to show you some new features that maybe you weren't aware of in PrintBoss, and also possibly show you, using some case studies, some different things to do with PrintBoss that maybe you hadn't thought of before. When I try to think about this software and think about how I would describe it to somebody, what I came up with was a cartoon character from the 1970s called Mighty Mouse. He was this little tiny mouse with Superman powers, so able to leap a tall building in a single bound, able to move things around that were 300 times his size. And I feel like PrintBoss is very similar to that. This software, first of all, has a pretty low price point, relatively speaking. It's about $800 for the enterprise version. The standard version is about half that cost, and it has a very small footprint. And what I mean by that is the install is done on your server, and then there is a small piece that goes on your workstation. It's very simple to install, probably about 5 minutes, and from there it just gets very powerful. And so what I'm hoping you're going to get out of this session today is, first of all, just the understanding what PrintBoss does, but also that PrintBoss can save you a ton of time and money. 18 plus years ago, I had a client who had their pre-printed check stock stolen. Somebody had broken in and stolen it. And I watched that controller go through all of this pain and angst of having to cancel her bank accounts and talk to the bank about how do we make sure nobody uses this and steal our money, and etc. And PrintBoss came in, and what PrintBoss does, or what it originally did, was you could take a blank piece of paper. Pretty much this piece of paper just has 2 perforations on it and some color at the bottom, and PrintBoss would do the rest. So you had blank paper you were holding in your office, and PrintBoss would do everything you needed on the check, from the micker to printing the check to doing the advices. One of the new security features that they've added is this little gray watermark down here with the dollar amount in it. So if you're concerned that somebody might be able to take this check and turn that 6 into an 8, for example, and somehow modify the written dollar amount as well, they still would have a very difficult time messing with that grayscale. Another thing that I've done to this check is you'll notice that I've put my John Hancock on it. One of the features I love about PrintBoss is if you're printing a lot of checks and you would like PrintBoss to put that signature on there for some smaller checks, and you only have to sign the ones that are for more expensive amounts, that is something we can do. We can set that up in the bank. Another fun little feature, something new that is just hot off the presses with PrintBoss, is the virtual credit card file, and this works very similarly. So imagine we've got some clients out there who have contracted with a virtual credit card company to pay all of their vendors. And so what they do is in Sage 300, they go ahead and they still generate a payment batch, and they tell it to, quote, print. But what they get as a result is not necessarily something that prints to the printer. Instead, they are getting a file that is in the format that the virtual credit card asked for. So let me again open this up here, and this one's a little bit easier to read. This is a comma-separated value file, and again what you're going to see, it's very similar to that positive pay file. It's giving you a header record, some details about what you are authorizing that virtual credit card company to pay, and then the total section is giving you a grand total of the payment amounts within here. One of the reasons our customers really like this is, first of all, it saves them time and money. They don't have to print out checks, envelope them, stamp them, and get them to the post office. They're simply uploading a file. If you're doing a ton of checks, PrintBoss also sells what they call pressure seal check stock. What that means is that you can print the checks, send them through a folding machine, and it does everything needed so that you can just simply send them out. They don't have to go into a window envelope. One of the very first customers that I did auto emailing with, they were mailing out 300 invoices a day. They were mailing or faxing order confirmations if their customers requested it, but they didn't want to do it if it wasn't requested. And they were handling tons of phone calls coming in from customers saying, where is my order? Can you give me my tracking number, etc. When we put in PrintBoss auto emailing, we did it with the order confirmation, the shipping confirmation, and we included tracking information on that, and their invoices. And they estimate that they saved $10,000 in that first year simply from the labor of not having to answer the phone as much, to printing, to postage and envelopes, and all of that kind of stuff. And so, boy, that was just a huge eye-opener for me on how such a little piece of software could have such an impact on a customer. One of the most popular reasons that people ask me for PDF files has to do with the purchase orders. If you're familiar with the purchase order module, you may know that when you create a purchase order, if you make any modifications to that purchase order, the system does not track the changes that you've made, meaning there's nothing in Sage 300 that's going to show you what that PO looked like originally versus how you changed it. The other thing is once you receive product on that purchase order, if you went to go reprint the purchase order, all it's going to show you is the product that is still outstanding. And I had quite a lot of clients who want to be able to go back and see what did that purchase order originally look like, what were the changes we made to it, etc. And this is where PrintBoss came in handy for us. So what we did for them is in PrintBoss, you have the ability to go in and set up some PDF information and tell it, save it to a PDF file, and here's where I want you to save it, here's how I want you to name it, etc. What this customer wanted us to do was they wanted to be able to print an entire batch of invoices, and they might have multiple invoices for a single customer. And they said, I want you to take all of those invoices and send them as one PDF to the customer. So we've got our Acme highly secure emails coming in here. So this is the first one that that customer would receive. And as you'll notice, it's got a PDF attachment, and it says, here are your invoices. If I double click on this, notice that the PDF file is actually asking me for a password. So I can't view that attachment until I've entered the correct password. And so what we're doing is we're sending out a secondary email where basically all it says is, hey, by the way, your password is black. And so if I go back to that first email, double click on it, and open it and type in the password black and hit OK, ta-da, all of a sudden I can see my invoice. Let me quick jump in and hit those new features. Again, these are hot off the presses. If I go into options and email settings where we set up our email, you'll notice there's a little checkbox right here where we can send email directly through the user's Outlook. We even have the ability to pick which Outlook profile we want it to use. So if you want it to say orders at happyretirementhome.com when it sends out emails, we can do that. They now hook to Gmail, which is thoroughly a web email, and they also hook to Office 365. Again, what I love about the PrintBoss people is they are wonderful about not being content and just sitting on their laurels and being happy with what the software does today. They're constantly adding features to it.